all our precious viewers. Jesus Christ is Lord. We welcome you to Choices. We are in the final lap with our discussion on gambling. Years ago, before I was married, I lived in a home with my family. There were 9 of us. I observed the sole breadwinner of the home, my father. He was hooked on gambling. As a matter of fact, he was addicted to it. When he loses money, and this was quite regular, he would come home and say he was robbed, and always with a sad story, which was nothing of the sort. My family was left without food, bills unpaid, and many more woes. We want you to safeguard yourself from this destructive monster. Live a constructive and a progressive life. Remember, you are valuable, precious, and priceless. We value you. God bless you, and God bless beautiful Guyana. Please continue, stay with us. Be blessed.
As we conclude these episodes on gambling and the dangers of it, we want to quickly recap what we had said earlier on previous programs. We looked at gambling from a sociological perspective, and then we looked at gambling from a psychological perspective. Sociological perspective fundamentally dealt with society, the impact it has on relationships and families, as Reverend Singh just mentioned. And then from an individual perspective, what it does to you as a person, what it does to you as a person, what it does to you, your mind, as an individual. And we did not just mention these consequences, but we cited various theorists and their view on the whole subject. And of course, their view was from a secular perspective. So we cited also that from a biblical perspective, we know that it is something that is not something that God is pleased with, because we believe in faith, we believe in hope, and we believe in a power that is greater than any power, a power that superintends over the affairs of men. So when we moved from the biblical aspect and we went to the secular aspect, we quoted men like Durkheim, Emile Durkheim, famous sociologist. We quoted men like Merton, who spoke on manifest acts and manifest functions. And we cited different persons. We went into the psychological aspect. And of course, we quoted men like Skinner. We quoted men like Kanihan. We quoted men like Tversky. And so we're saying all of this to say that it is not a gaffe that we are engaging in, but we have seen the devastating impact that this kind of phenomenon or behavior it would have had on the individual and on family. And I'm sure at some point in time you will hear what other organizations or groups, what they have discovered in terms of the impact. So as we conclude this program, we want to say in no uncertain term that this is something that one ought to stay away from because of the consequences of gambling. Gentlemen.
It is such an experience over the last few weeks, going over and examining and re-examining a growing negative culture in our environment that, if left unchecked, will create some amazing dangers that we will be unable to manage, and our ancestry or generations after us will be unable to cope with. My friend Dr. Paul Benjamin reminded me of a WHO report, and I'm sure he's going to quote it in a few moments, that highlighted some things. I found when I checked that report that they reference gambling as a mental health condition, a condition that they say that is addictive. I thought, wow, WHO 2024 sounds unique. They say gambling creates anxiety disorders. It leads to substance abuses. It allows the person to actively engage in depressive activities, which leads to depression. And you and I know, once you start the road of depression, unless there's a reversal, we have a medical doctor here, you know depression, if not managed, leads to serious mental health disorders. It speaks to to high-risk behavior that eventually leads to suicide. So clearly, for those who may ask, why are you concerned? Because we live here. And I believe God loves people. Loving God means loving people. And hence, we have been bringing this awareness. Brothers.
Thank you so much, Reverend Hasana, for making that reference. It's WHO December 2024 article on gambling, and as it relates to gambling harm, I'd just like to add to the discussion. And I was really taken aback by the clear understanding that was posited by the WHO. And as it relates to gambling harms, I really want us to really look at these areas. Gambling harms, I quote, include relationship breakdown, family violence, financial distress, stigma, income generating crimes such as theft and fraud, neglect of children. We heard Reverend Singh give his personal testimony, and erosion of civil institutions via corruption and corporate political activity. The report continues to say that gambling is also a common way to launder money obtained through illegal activities. Brothers and sisters, this is what we are talking about. This is the reality. This is a secular organization stating here. And so I want us to look at the far-reaching consequences, the harms. This is a direct attack upon the family, upon the individual, upon the community, upon the country. So what we're saying here today, and like we were encouraged last week, in last week's program, we were given a charge not to be carried away by the glitz of gambling. It's so pervasive in our society. It's so luring. And we want to encourage you not to be carried away by that, but to seriously focus on what are the dangers, the dark side of gambling, because it has far-reaching effects coming right down to the individual. Let's be wise and let's do the right thing.
Dr. Benjamin, I'm not sure. You highlighted some specific terms. Could you repeat them again for us? Because like you, when I saw this by the WHO, I was shocked that a report like this that is so frank could actually come from the WHO. I would more have thought it would have come from a religious environment But from the World Health Organization, I must be honest, I was taken back. Remind us
Oh,
of the
yes,
harms quickly,
most
please.
definitely. Gambling harms include relationship breakdown, family violence, financial distress, stigma, income generating crimes such as theft and fraud, child neglect, and erosion of civil institutions via corruption and corporate political activity. And even as we think about this, Reverend Tisana and brothers, think about the importance of strong relationships in society, in homes, and think about the fact that gambling can affect these relationships, causing a relationship breakdown. Think about family violence. Family is the crucible, it's the place where you should find safety and cover. But think of this kind of activity causing family violence. So, in essence, what we're saying is that these, the practice of gambling, it has far-reaching consequences that can affect the core of who we are, the core of our family, the core of society. So the caution is again, let's stay away from this. Let's stay away from it.
I am
Paul,
thinking
you
about
know,
what has happened. I mean, from the sociological perspective that Dr. Hudson shared and the statistics that you're sharing, Dr. Benjamin, coming from the World Health Organization, are we seeing a contradiction in society? For example, horse racing that is broadcast, publicized. It has reached a level where not only celebrities take part in that form of gambling, but it has gone to the highest echelon in society that are involved in gambling. Gambling takes away from honest work or the pursuit of honest wealth. But society, on one hand, is talking about how serious it is, the downside of it, but at the same time, society promotes gambling. And so, what we are saying, perhaps, is that we are discouraging persons from gambling, even though there are segments in society that seems to glorify gambling. And so it comes back to the personal decision that each and every one of us will have to make, guard against the downside of gambling. And so I think also, I believe also rather, that society has a responsibility to refuse to license gambling because of the destructive nature to the family. And so I'm taken back by the fact that we publicize the downside of it, but at the same time, society promotes it.
correct, Dr. Lee. I like what you were saying, and I like the stats. I'm listening here attentively, and you said pursuit of honest work. Gambling has the ability to take away the pursuit of honest work. No, someone may be listening and say, well, if I want to gamble, gamble is me money, as we say in colloquial terms, it's my money. But coming back to Dr. Paul's stats, gambling leads to a whole heap of negative incidents, family destroyed, property loss, it even leads to killing. Now, if you like to gamble, we're talking about stats, right? The stats, according to Search Logistics business data, also says not just WHO, but the stats, and they focus a lot on America. The stats also say that gambling doesn't guarantee you winning, making you a millionaire, into a millionaire. How do I know this? You see, big wins are only 0.09% of persons who gamble, and that is legal gambling. Now you may say, but, and this is a society with over 300 million people, and only 0.09% of people win any amount of money, and that amount of money is $10,000 and less, US dollars we're talking about, and less. That's $10,000 is no way going to make you a millionaire. And for you to get that $10,000 US, you've had to be gambling more than once. And even if you gamble the first time and you win 10,000, what's going to happen? You'll be excited. You're going to want to go and gamble again. And these are where all the effects Dr. Paul spoke about earlier start coming to effect. Because when you can't get that 10,000 or that 1,000 to try to make that 10,000 or that 100 to try to make that 10,000, you will go and do things to get that 10,000. You see what I'm getting at? And the stats say only 0.09% of over 300 million people. Guyana doesn't have a million people. You see where I'm getting at? So your chance of winning is point 0.000. It's minuscule. That's what I'm trying to say. You want to hear some more stats? Repeat winners are only few. Happiness after winning is only 55%, just above half. If you win $1 million, it doesn't guarantee you happiness. We're talking about stats.
There is a guarantee that if a person works hard over the years and that person invests, that person could really achieve far more than the probability that you have just cited, Pastor Kurt. That person stands at a greater advantage in terms of becoming well. And many of us could testify to that fact. Some of us, we worked hard, we studied, we applied ourselves, and so we were able to do well. And so the issue of the get rich quick syndrome and the quick fix, that will not work, because we heard about the statistics, and the statistics, they're out there all over the place. For one person to win, a whole set of persons, they have to lose. So this interferes with the community, for example, the community flow, if I could say that, because for Marshall Watson to win, gambling in a particular community, is community brothers and sisters or fellows, they have to lose so that I could become. That will put us nowhere. That is not godlike. The other point I think is important for us to mention, there are people who have done so well that they gamble as a pastime and they have fun gambling. And so it may not hurt them. But the common man who wants to behave in that fashion, he stands to suffer the most. And we have gambling, yes, that with license, but then we also have to look at the numerous little shops, betting shops that we have, where people in the community decide that this is what they're going to do. That is dangerous. As a matter of fact, I think that is even more dangerous, because they are already in a survival mode. They're not like the rich and famous. They are already in a survival mode, and yet they're going to acquire each other's possessions in order to be successful. I think that in itself interferes with the community spirit. It is harmful. The young people in the family, the young persons in that community, they look and see what's going on there, because that is very close to them. They don't have to drive and pay a bill to go in any fancy building, but they're right in their community. So what happens? Their training begins to take place, and so on. So I'm just making the case that there are people who are extremely rich and they do this, and some people try to follow them, but they don't know how they would have acquired their wealth, because they gamble, because they want to feel nice. That in itself too is dangerous, because sometimes you could become so excited that you say, you know what, I'm going to put my Jeep up, I'm going to put my house up. and then the madness continues at every level. So the best thing to do for everybody, whether you're rich or famous or whether you're poor, is to stay away from this thing because it is a scourge.
Gambling is like an illusion. It comes with a slang that says everyone is a winner. But the reality is, everyone will never be a winner when it comes to gambling. Like my colleagues would have said, somebody has to lose for others to win. However, I see gambling as a mental illness because if not controlled properly can result in suicide, which is a finality that no one wants. Think about it from this perspective. You're being promised quite a large sum of money. Everyone is in pursuit of this money. You're there, you're betting. The thing about gambling is sometimes it makes you feel you're close to winning the prize. And so every time I'm close, I'm going to go, I'm going to keep going, I've got to get it. But in order for that dopamine effect, which is a hormone, to be sustained, you have to keep betting higher and higher to have a sustained effect. Now, for that to become normalized, what it creates is anxiety because every time you think you're getting closer to the goal, you are not achieving that goal. Persistent anxiety leads to depression. In order to arise from the slumber of depression, many people turn to the use of substance to give them a secondary effect that is going to be parallel to the one that they're no longer able to achieve from the initial gambling that is on the table. That is why they turn on many occasions to substances that can give them that effect, which obviously, as we know, by itself will have to be consumed in continuously high quantity to have that effect. The bottom line to this is they'll soon recognize that at the end of the day, gambling or the substances that they're using still does not allow them to achieve what they want, which for some person is to be able to maintain their family. This leads to depression, further depression. So it's like a cycle. You go from anxiety to depression to substance abuse, which in the long run, when you don't have what you want, can lead to suicide. Do not be disillusioned that you are able to win the prize because you are just a mere probability. And for those who actually do win the prize, like the statistics would have shown, at the end of the day, they make the money and they're still not satisfied because money can only bring happiness. Joy comes from Jesus Christ and your purpose in Him.
Wow, well, if that is not a mouthful, I don't know what is. You know, this is something else, you know, and just to follow up on what you were saying there, Dr. Keisha, according to lottery statistics, how many people play lottery in the US by Matthew Woodward, updated on March 27, 2025, you know, he points to the fact that, you know, only 70% of those, oh, let me get my stats correct here. About 70% of lottery winners actually end up entirely broke at the end of the day. So this thing is something else, and we enter into gambling from different points. Some come in as a result of greed. Some enter into this pool, if you could put it like that, through the adrenaline. Some want to make easy money. Some better believe that some people actually dare people. I bet you can't do this. I bet you can't do that. You know, I dare you to do that. I could do that. You know, so people get into this thing now. We don't know how you would have been sucked in, but you're sucked in today. You know, and this is why we're dealing with the dark side of gambling. When you see gambling, generally you see all the bright lights on what could be done and what you could, you know, how you could conduct yourself, a brighter life, a better future, whatever the case might be. But we have taken the time to bring this research to you and to show you the dark side so that you could make your choice. This is choices indeed. You have to choose.
You know, as we close, I would like to leave another statistic with us, you know. You have 1 in 1,222,000. 1 in 1,222,000 chance of dying or receiving a serious injury from lightning strike in any year. 1 in 1,222,000 a chance of dying from a lightning strike. And you have 1 in 292.2 billion chance of winning the lottery. You have a higher percentage of dying, a higher chance of dying than winning the lottery. Think about that.
Oh, what a
You know
thought.
what is important here? Rev, just let me stitch in this one. We are not suggesting in any way or any form or any fashion that we are better than anybody. And we want those who are listening to hear us. We're not suggesting that we have all the solutions and the answers to the problems that people are experiencing. We have painted a picture based upon statistics and based upon research that this thing is hard. It's dangerous. It can affect the society, could affect family. Now we have given you the information. It is for you to choose. But we are by no means suggesting that we are better than anybody out there. But what we're suggesting to you is that you need to make a choice, and that choice should be on the side where you stand a better chance of surviving more than dying.
I love that decision of a choice. It's a power that God has given to every one of us. While Deacon Martin is preparing to take us out in the last 60 seconds of this program, I will leave with you John 10:10. Hear what it says. The thief does not come except to steal, to kill, and to destroy. But I have come that they may have life and that they may have it abundantly. Simply put, anything that is stealing and taking away from you, stay away from it. And I would add, Jesus is life. Hold on to him. Emmy, the last 60 seconds are yours.
Life is a sum total of your choices. So I would encourage many of the men, especially out there, if you enjoy gambling, start a business. Do something else that is productive. Take all of that energy, a lot of that pragmatic nature. Some of the biggest bettors have a skill set that could be very valuable in a business setting, you know, and they have the openness and the willingness to accept risk. And they also have an interesting work ethic, even though it might be misguided. So work it, fuel it, use it to develop a business, and use it to develop a business. Yeah, use it to develop a business. Use it to look at the unique opportunity and fulfill your purpose. God created you with a purpose, and yeah, just follow through. And the kind of community that you're going to be able to build around you as you build your business and as you spend your time more productively is going to be transformational for you and for your family. God bless.
This is Choices. See you next time, God willing.
We thank you for joining us on Choices today. Remember, you can join us at First Assembly, LNP Durban Street, Workmanville, Georgetown, Guyana, for any of our special services. I'm Celacia on behalf of the set, reminding you that your whole life is the sum of your choices. God bless you.